guys, welcome back to the channel out here on the Panigale V2, and today we're going to talk about the 5 things I hate about this motorcycle, if we can even get that far, because honestly this is a really good bike and I don't have much to complain about, but it's not perfect. So this all came about because I was watching a video from a YouTuber and he had 5 things that he hated about the bike, and it just didn't really make much sense to me. Like, he was complaining about it didn't have trunk space, it didn't have a fuel gauge, his wrist hurt, or whatever, and I'm just like, why the hell did you buy a sport bike? I mean, trunk space? This is a freaking Panigale V2. I mean, you don't really need to have trunk space. I mean, I can fit an air pressure gauge in there, and that's all I really need to have. But there are some things I agree with him on, like the heat of the bike. So we'll kind of conquer that first here, because that is one of the biggest problems that everyone agrees with. So the bike gets really, really hot, and you know, there's really no way around that other than, you know, wear motorcycle riding gear. Leather helps a lot. Raven Moto, like my in the affiliate here, links. If you use those links below, helps out the channel. So check out Raven Moto. They got really good riding armor, especially the jeans like I have on now, the Aramid. You know, they're just jeans, they're regular jeans, but their armor, Kevlar line, they're pretty sick. The other thing you can do to control the heat is change the exhaust to titanium. That helps a lot. It doesn't fix it, but it definitely helps a lot, because on steel the heat dissipates much differently than on titanium. Titanium just kind of absorbs heat and it spreads it differently, and you don't really feel it up in the body. I feel like, you know, there's one thing about the Ducati Spacers kit, like keeping the heat out or keeping the heat off of you, but it didn't work. Like, you can see it, it's all in there. It's like falling, like it falls off. It doesn't even stick. Look, see, it doesn't stick. And also, I could touch this titanium. Like, you would not be able to do that. I just got off this bike. I could turn the bike on right now and it would read a very high temperature. Do I have my key on me? I'll show you, actually. Oh, I don't have the key. Hold on. No, I don't have the key, but it's hot. The bike's, I literally just, you probably couldn't touch the clutch. No, you can't touch that. That's hot. But this, not hot at all. And so that's what I mean about the titanium. It dissipates the heat differently than steel, so it's really nice. And if you do the wheelbarrow exhaust, you get rid of that big downpipe under the seat there that comes out of the rear cylinder. So it's pretty nice when you get the exhaust. It does help. It doesn't fix it. I will say that. You can get the Ducati Spacers heat shield kit. I wouldn't necessarily say that even works at all, to be honest with you, because it just doesn't. I mean, I had it on there and I felt the exact same kind of heat radiating out of the stock pipes than I did with the heat shield kit on. Plus it always falls out, and you know, whatever. So it's up to you if you want to get that, but Ducati Spacers does make the spacer for the throttle play. So if you are worried about that, I don't like it personally. That's why I have it in there. So when I pull back the throttle, there's no play there. It just, the bike just goes. But I know for some racers, like most guys who race, like the throttle play. So that's why that's there. I'm not, you know, that's on Ducati. I don't know. For some reason, they feel like more people are going to like the play. And actually, I think if they took a poll, which they never do, they just kind of probably asked like the vice presidents and like the people who run Ducati, hey, do you like the throttle play? Yeah. Okay, we're keeping it. And that's probably as far as that goes. But if they did a poll, I'd probably almost guarantee you everybody would say, yeah, get rid of the throttle play. So, you know, that's the thing. The fuel gauge, look, I mean, it's easy to keep track of the fuel. Every 90 miles, the bike needs gas. It's simple as that. You know, it can go more or less depending on how you ride it, but it's generally about 80 to 90 miles. And it's simple as going to your trip setting here, if I can find it without killing myself. You know, look, I've already went 31 miles since I put gas in this bike. So, you know, that's how I keep track of the gas. When you get gas, you reset it to 0. Done deal. Now, in the defense of people mad at the fuel gauge, how hard is it to put a damn fuel symbol on there? I don't know, man. I mean, it's really easy. They just got to add the feature to the screen. I mean, it's a simple thing they need to do, but they don't do it to keep it that race authentic. You know, leader bikes, race bikes do not have fuel gauges. And to keep to the racing roots and to keep this a racing machine, Ducati says no fuel gauge, count your miles. Again, this is not a bike that you need to be commuting on. It's not a bike meant to sit in traffic. You know, it's not a bike that you need to travel with, you know, across the country. Can you do these things? Yes. Can you do them comfortably? Not really. Now, as far as the comfortability goes on this bike, I mean, yeah, you're hunched over. It's a super aggressive racing machine. I mean, what do you really expect? But there are things you can do to mitigate that. Now, the wrist, for your wrist, look, if your wrists are hurting you on a bike like this, look into setting your levers. They might be in the wrong setting. So if you're always like this, that's not good. You want them to be even, you know, and that'll take care of a lot of that pain on your wrist. Another thing you could do is get some really nice grips on the bike. These are Domino grips. The factory grips on this bike are really hard, and you know, they suck. So to get rid of any, to help that, just get yourself some grips. That's all, and it'll really mitigate that a lot. I love this corner, but I don't love it always because there's a lot of cars coming in and out. So you gotta be careful. Obviously, I hit this road a lot faster, but I'm trying to talk to you guys, so I'm not pushing it right now at all. But I usually scream down that road. This is my home road, so I like to like really get it on there. I'm on this road all the time. It's literally the road I ride probably 5 times a week, and I'm getting really used to it. And I know when the traffic is now, and I just, you know, I'm really used to this road, and I love it. It's the best road in Texas, and no one can really tell you otherwise. It really is. Again, you know, the ergonomics on this bike are aggressive. It is what it is. That's just what kind of bike you bought. You know, like if you want to be upright and comfortable, get yourself a naked bike. Get the Street Fighter version. You're going to be much better off. If you want a bike that you can have trunk space, as you will, then you're going to probably do better off with something like a freaking Road King or something like that. But this thing can barely fit a set of insurance papers, and honestly, who has insurance papers on them anyway? All that kind of stuff's on my phone. You know what I mean? And like, it's really not something I carry with me. I think we're gonna break that thing. So yeah, the ergonomics are fine. It's, you know, I really think this bike is pretty comfortable for what it is now. A couple hours on this thing, your ass is going to start to hurt, your knees might hurt. I mean, it's a freaking super bike, yo. Like, what? That's just kind of like what it is. But for me, the Luimoto seat cover, you can get the gel insert, which really will help a lot. But just the Luimoto seat cover by itself is a really good upgrade to do on this motorcycle, and it actually makes a really big difference in the way the bike feels when you're sitting on it. So it is really, I like the Luimoto seat cover a lot. Oh, this is one of my favorite. Look at this corner, y'all. Corner. Oh yeah. So the one thing that did really bother me about this bike, probably the biggest thing, it would be, I think most people's issue with this thing that is a really big issue, is the false neutrals. The false neutrals on this bike were terrible. I mean, it just always wanted to pop into neutral. There wasn't a whole lot I could do about it. The bike just always popped into neutral, and it was really annoying when that did that, and super scary also. Like, it is not very fun when the bike pops in neutral. So the way I got around that, and honestly, the false neutrals come from your shifting. No helmet, man. So if you don't shift, what happens is you're in first gear, you're going into second, but you don't get it into second all the way, and it goes into neutral. And so the way I fixed that was I put $1,000 CNC rear sets on here, racing rear sets, and I say $1,000 because it's important to know how much they are, because you got to get some quality ones. The one thing about these, like I was really complained about, was the knurling on the factory ones. It just didn't exist. So the knurling on these ones, much better, gives you that grip that you really want. And as far as the biggest issue with the bike, other than the heat, which, you know, whatever, but as far as the biggest issue with the false neutrals, when I put the bike in GP shift with these CNC rear sets, which are absolutely like a piece of jewelry, once I did that, the false neutral went away. Because like I said, you know, the false neutrals come from when you're trying to pull the bike up into gear and you don't quite get it, and you put it in neutral and the bike revs out, and then, you know, honestly, what you want to do, don't go back into first, just go right into second. And that took care of the issue when I put it in GP shift. Excuse me. So when I put the bike in GP shift, that really took care of the false neutral. Like, it completely just stopped doing it, because in GP shift, instead of you going up, you're going down into the gears, and it just goes into gear the way it should when you have it in GP shift. So it's a pretty good upgrade to do if you're having false neutrals. Just go ahead and get rear sets. Also, when it was raining, let me just say that then, the rear sets on this bike were freaking terrible. The factory rear sets were, outside of like the false neutrals, the rear sets were terrible even in dry weather. I couldn't stand them. They had no knurling on the peg, so I went ahead and obviously changed out the rear set. For these CNC racing rear sets, and it made a big difference. The CNC rear sets have the knurling, you have GP shift, you can adjust them all over the place, so you know, to make it more comfortable for you, and it's really nice. They're really good rear sets to get. I highly recommend rear sets on this motorcycle. You know, so those are like the big things, you know. The false neutral is probably the only real issue I had with this motorcycle. And right now, you know, let me get through here. And, you know, like there's other things that are troublesome about it. Like, you know, it had the windscreen, you know, pretty low, and you got a lot of wind on the highway, so you got to get the double bubble. The mirrors were like an afterthought on the bike, so you got to get yourself some, you know, bar ends, or run no mirrors like a lot of guys do, because honestly, you're always looking behind you anyway. So, you know, but the mirrors on this bike were terrible. But those aren't things I'm going to complain about this bike, because that's kind of what you buy when you buy a Panigale. You know, it's like, it's a super aggressive racing bike, and honestly, you know, it's not supposed to have mirrors on it. So the mirrors suck. They put them on there just to have them so they can sell it to the general public. I mean, it's really kind of all it is. But like some of the bigger issues, like I said, man, that the heat that come off it, fine, and then the false neutrals. those things dialed in, you can enjoy your beautiful Panigale, because this is a really fun bike. And this is a really fun corner. Bikes like this, man, that's just kind of what you're getting. As far as the trunk space, like seriously, don't ever change this Ducati rear tail. I don't care how many people complain about it. Not enough for you to ever change this design. The design of that rear tail is absolutely perfect, and it can never be changed. I'm actually gonna probably take this sticker off. I don't like it here anymore. Yeah, we'll leave it for now, but yeah, so that's it, guys. Like, share, subscribe. Use the links below. Get yourself some Raven Moto riding pants. That helps with the heat, like I said. I took off my covers here. You know, there isn't really much to complain about once you have it all set up the way you want. And also, too, dialing in the suspension to your body weight will really help out your comfort level on the bike. The rear sets will definitely help. The grips help. Like, all those little things you may not think, like, oh, what's the seat gonna do? What's rear sets gonna do? You don't spend $1,000 on rear sets for them not to do anything. It's much more rigid, so you're not getting all this like crazy vibration into your body and lower back, because the rear set, the way it's designed and the material they use, it's absorbing all that energy, and it's just really freaking nice. You feel sturdy on there. You got the grip. You can adjust them all over the place if you want to be higher, lower, whatever. They're just sick. So, you know, you might not think something like that will make a difference. You know, oh, spend $1,000. That's a racing rear set. They don't have a different one for the street. Like, you get the racing one that the racers get. So, you know, that goes a long way, because it helps out for sure. You wouldn't think a stupid seat cover would do anything, but it really does make a difference with the grip. And, you know, the windshield, the windscreen, double bubble windscreen helps out for the wind and the grips. And these bar end mirrors from Rhino Moto, or bar ends with the mirrors, if you get the CRG mirrors, they're going to come with like a little deal that goes on the end, and then you're going to get all this vibration in your bars. You have to put bar ends on this, and Rhino Moto makes one that attaches to the CRG mirror, so make sure you get those. They're for a V4, but they still fit in this bike. And I'm telling you right now that makes a world of a difference. And just doing that, even if you just do those by themselves, they absorb more energy than the factory ones, so they're super nice. And once you're on the bike and you have just those three things, like grips, a better bar end weight, seat cover, and rear sets, your like comfort level is from, oh, this is annoying for an hour, to like, I can ride this thing 4 or 5 hours, no problem, you know. Plus, you're stopping for brakes every 80 miles anyway, if you're riding that long. So, you know, you're gonna need gas, you know what I mean? So anyway, guys, that's what I got. Like, share, subscribe. Peace.